For all the latest community news and events.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.
Now, it's not so many years since that the osprey was among the most endangered of British wild birds. Concerted efforts led by the RSPB have seen numbers of the birds increase in recent years to the extent that some British osprey chicks are being rehomed to improve colonies overseas. And down there at Brockholes, there is now an osprey platform. And to find out more about it, I'm going to go over live to Brockholes now and talk to Sarah Leech. So, Sarah, a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
Lovely to talk to you on this. Well, I can't see out the window, but I take it it's not too bad a day, is it, out there?
No, it's gorgeous down here today, really warm.
Lovely. So, tell it, what is an osprey platform and how has this come about?
Right, well, basically ospreys like to nest high up in trees, particularly in some of the conifer trees that you find high up in Scotland and the like. Now, what we've thought at Brockholes for a long time is that ospreys are passing Brockholes on a regular basis when they're flying up into Scotland and into the lakes, and when they're flying back, when they're on their migration. And so we've seen them quite a few times, and we've always thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get them to breed at Brockholes rather than going right up to the top of Scotland, and then visitors locally can come and have a look at them here. So what we've decided to do is kind of build the des res for ospreys, really, down here at Brockholes.
Yes. That sounds really good. And I understand. Well, how tall are these platforms? Are they very high?
No, it's a telegraph pole, basically. So if you imagine your standard telegraph poles out in the street, that's how high the platform is. The pole itself was put in for us by Electricity Northwest, so big thank you to them for doing that. I don't think it was their standard day job. And then we've built a nesting platform on top of the telegraph pole out of pallets with some larch branches on there.
And I mean, there have been reported sightings of the bird in Lancashire, so we know they're around, don't we, as you have just said?
Yeah. We think they use the River Ribble to navigate their way north. So we see them at Brockholes kind of March, April time, as they start to come up from Africa. They'll navigate their way up the Ribble, head up north to where they breed up in Scotland, and there are a few sites in the Lake District. And then again, we'll see them at kind of this time of year, so kind of late August till around mid-September. They'll be passing Brockholes again, flying back down the River Ribble out to sea, and then off to Africa for the winter.
Wow. And given that ospreys, I think they eat only fish, don't they? So there's certainly not a shortage of food around the area for them.
No, that's why we think that Brockholes will actually be a perfect spot for them. We're very close to the River Ribble, which is well stocked. We've got a number of water bodies on site at Brockholes, which have varying different numbers of fish in them. And then they will actually fly out into the Ribble estuary, possibly to feed if they are successful in breeding here. So yes, no shortage of food around here at all for them.
And for visitors to Brockholes, is there vantage viewing points where they can actually keep their fingers crossed and hope to see the birds return?
Yes, there is. I mean, the platform itself is viewable from the floating visitor village. So right at the end where the restaurant is, you'll be able to look out and see the platform in the distance. Now, we don't think that we'll have anything on there for perhaps a couple of years. What experience from other sites who have built these platforms has shown is that basically ospreys like to check it out for a couple of years. So they perhaps will fly over and have a good look, or on the way back from Africa they might have a quick perch and see how it feels before actually deciding to use it. I think what it is the female ospreys just want to check out, what it's like, whether it's suitable as a home, and check out the decor, I think, before they agree to have it.
Yes, I can see that happening. And you're also asking for people that, they can go on Facebook or Twitter to report any sightings of osprey or any other wildlife of interest, I understand.
Oh, yeah. We have a real well-used social media community at Brockholes. We've got a website a Facebook site that's not run by ourselves, actually. We've got one that is run by some local birders who use Brockholes regularly, and they kind of run that themselves and post details of wildlife sightings on the reserve. And we also paste them on our own Facebook and Twitter as well. So, for social media users, that's the best way to keep up to date with exactly what we're seeing. We've got quite a lot of fungi out at the moment, so people are on posting pictures of what they've spotted there.
And recently, people were flocking down there because you had a rare member of the heron family visiting.
Yeah, we did. A couple of weeks ago, we had the great white egret around, which is quite rare. Yeah, a magnificent, really big completely white heron. And it was visible from the restaurant, which is fantastic. And so we've got some really good pictures of it flying by the restaurant windows, which we've been using at the moment. But we did have the same bird around in the winter months. During the winter, we had a bittern on site. We had our normal grey herons. We had the great white egret and the little egret all around at the same time, so that was quite exciting. So we're hoping for that again in the winter.
It really is brilliant to hear, isn't it, about the wildlife down there that's being attracted, because earlier in the year, I understand you had peregrine and red kite down there. Yeah,
and we've had avocet breeding this summer, so it is fantastic. And what it is showing is it's testament really to the hard work of all our volunteers that we've got out on site, because what they're doing day in, day out, whatever the weather, is they're managing our habitats out on the reserve to make them kind of optimum for the different species of wildlife. And it's very true that if you create the right habitat for wildlife, it will come. We might have to wait a few months or years, but it will eventually get here. So it just shows that by managing habitats appropriately, it does attract the wildlife to the site.
And some of the species, I live down on the docks, and I can also see some of the birds now that are getting ready to fly away for the winter, which to me is always a sad sign. But I suppose the same down there at Brockholes, that you can see the species that are preparing to fly off to the sun.
Yeah, definitely. It's the kind of swifts and swallows and the like that will be off to the sun soon. But also what it does mean is that we also get lots of species returning or coming to us in the autumn-winter months. And actually a lot of our birders do look forward to this time of year when we start to get the return of many species to the site. So it should be exciting over the next few weeks. Well, fingers crossed, we're going to start looking for the bittern from towards the end of October, early November.
Right. Well, I can tell in your voice, Sarah, how much you love this job. And it must be brilliant being down there, and the excitement when somebody reports that they've seen one of the birds on the water or around the area. Yeah,
everybody shoots out to have a look as quickly as they can. I always end up missing it, to be honest, because I'm either on the phone or doing something equally boring like paperwork, to be honest. But it's really exciting when you see everybody else's enthusiasm. When we've got all the visitors out of the restaurant looking at something. Especially when the people that perhaps aren't particularly interested in wildlife, maybe they've just come for a cup of tea and a cake in the restaurant, and actually at the time they're here they get to see something that actually is quite rare.
Yes.
And it does kind of enthuse them a little bit about wildlife and starts to develop a bit of a passion for it.
And for our listeners maybe who've not yet visited Brockholes, just tell us the opening hours at the moment and how they find you.
We're open from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. The reserve itself is open till 9, so the gates are open still till 9 o'clock. We are located at junction 31 of the M6, which is the Tickle Trout roundabout, if you know that. And we're signed with the brown tourist sign, so it is quite a complicated road junction at the Tickle Trout. But we always advise people just to follow the brown signs and stay in the lane, and then they'll get to us.
And of course, I know schools have only recently returned, but of course, I suppose gearing up for the October half-term break for lots of things for children and get the children down there to see the birds.
Yes, we are. October half term will be busy. We are currently sorting out pumpkin carving, which we've got planned for half term. We have lots of pumpkin carving at Brockholes. It's extremely popular. We think it's something to do with the fact that people would rather prefer the mess in our room than at home.
Yes.
And on top of that, we've got an activity themed around the children's book room on the broom. So they'll be making their own broomsticks, and they'll be making a little cat to sit on the back. And then on Halloween itself, we've got our Monsters Ball, which is a Halloween party for younger children. So loads of things to do during the half term.
Brilliant. Sarah, been a pleasure to talk to you this afternoon.
No problem.
Hope you'll keep us informed of any sightings, any happenings down there that I know our listeners would love to hear about and come down and see.
Brilliant. Yes, of course we will.
Okay.
All
Speak to you
right.
soon.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sunday nights from 9. Join Steve Franklin live for Preston FM's weekly request show.
Could I have some Pink Floyd for my mum?
Gino by Dixie's Midnight Runners.
Can I request 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, please?
What a way to make a living.
Lavender by Marillion.
Sunday nights from 9. 103.2 Preston FM. The weekend stops here.